はい、はい、はい、少々お待ちください。皆さんこんばんは、野村です。ちょっと喉が痛いのであまり大きい声は出せませんが、ザ・スタンリー・パラブルやっていきたいと思います。LINE に沿って進んでいく。はい、やっていきましょう。
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
はいはい。
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Hi, Joe. I'm going today.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation.
音量下げだけど
Something
これ
was
ならどう
very
でしょう。
clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen
それ
solid,
かマイクゲイ
Stanley
ン
found
のバカ
himself
ほど上げる
unable
か。
to move for the longest
いや
time.
もうちょっと下げとけなこれ。よいしょ。
But as he came to his
これならどうだ。
wits and regained his senses, he got up from his
どうでしょ
desk and stepped out of his office.
う。お、始まった。あ、待って、戦士バカ高すぎる。ちょっと待って。高い。あ、こんな感じか。多分これで大丈夫なはず。今度はゲームの音が入んなくなったぞ。これでどう？ちょっと自分でもちょっと配信を再生して聞いてみよう。もうほとんど突発的に配信するせいでね、音がクソ。あ、ちょうどいい感じかこれ。あ、ちょうどいい感じだ。よし、OK。やっていきましょう。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
お、
memo.
声出てます。お、OK。
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office,
そう。
but it didn't make a single difference.
この物語
Nor did
は
it
ですね、
advance the story in any way.
このナレーターに従うもよし、従わなくてもよしという、なかなか面白いゲームでね、もともとリリースされてたのが2013年頃なんですよ。ちなみにその頃に自分一回やってるんですね、このゲーム。そう。ジャンプが、あ、なんか電源ついてる。お。バックルームズ、あ、ほんとそんな感じですよ、これ。はい、来た。何やら怪しげなドアが。あれ ?425 って まあいいやって感じで進んでいきましょう。知っちゃってるせいでなかなかどうしてっていう感じがするんですが、なんか3月に業績下がってるみたい。ノークリップだ。そうなんですよ、残念ながら。ただね、デラックス分については知らないっていうのがあるんで、そう、このドアがあったと。今回はチュートリアルなんだね。これ、クラピカ理論でいくと、みんな右行くから、俺今回左に行くぜ。413、ほう。なんかさ、野村は接客業をやってるので、あんまりうまくは言えないけどさ、こうやって外から仕事ぶりが見えるところに働くの嫌だよね。お、見慣れた会議室。
Yet there was not a single person here either.
まあ、
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
絵飾ってある廊下ってなんかまずかちょっと分かっちゃう自分が嫌だね。What do people want? Things. Money. More money. Things but with money to buy. More things. Graphs. Graphs are bad things about money って。利益、利益、利益、利益って。みんなユニーク。みんな個性があるっつってんだね、これは。なんかあんまりいいアイデアがないみたいね。ビジネスって行き詰まってる会社って感じがする。コンサル会社だったのかな。お、
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
なんかメモしてんじゃん。怖っ。
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment
What?
for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense.
朝日取ってないか。
And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
あれ
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream.
これは全部夢なんだ。ルー
What
プ
a
してる。
relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer.
これあれか
an explanation.
異変見つけて
His
下がれってやつか。ちょっ
co-workers
と
weren't
戻っ
actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid.
なんかあっても引き下がれないから
imagined
な。
himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
わおわおわおわお、浮いてる
Then
浮いてる
he
浮いてる浮いてる
imagined
浮いてる。
soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too
スターフィールド
appeared.
に
It
乗
was
り
so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he
宇
had
宙っ
still
ぽくなっ
not
てきた。
woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
まあ確かに
Now
言われ
the
てみれば
voice
お
was
かしいな。
describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it
そうだね。
particularly
確かに
strange.
今俺は配信して
I'm
るから実
dreaming
況してる
about
と
a
も言える。
voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he
ほ
thought.
う。まあそう
And while
ね
he。thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley.
ショッ
After
ク。
all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him
なんかめっちゃ
float
ショ
and
ック
make
受
the
けてる顔。
magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that?
で、説明聞い
This
てなかったん
voice
だ
was
け
a
ど、なんで
part
こ
of
の人こんな
himself
にでかい
too.
声出したのこ
Surely,
れ。
surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back,
そうだな。
the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife
こいつ結婚してんのか
and
よ。
my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.
なんだこいつ結婚してたのか。
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
I am okay. OK じゃなかったみたいですね。
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
え
Mariella woke up on a day like any other.
うん。
She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her work was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
死んじゃったね。はい。はい。ということでね、ちゃんと指示には従っていこうということでやっていきましょう。ああ。やっぱね、コーラってペプシに限るんですよ。やっぱ皆さんそう思いませんか？ちょ待って。そう。コーラはね、ペプシなんですよ。ちょ待って。はい。さて、ということでね、こんな感じで、ナレーターに従っていくと物語がいろいろ展開するゲーム、スタンリー・パラボロというゲームですね。バックルーム味を感じる。間違いないね。ちょっと最初は全部従ってみますか。ペプシゼロ派です。ああ、ペプシゼロもうまいよね。
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
割と結構でかいゲップが出た。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
ボスのオフィス、でかくねえか？うわ、トイレだ。バスルームって書いてあったもんね。Morning in the morning, morning in the evening, money for breakfast, more money crisp. なんか会社の写真とか飾ってあるのかなこれ。あ、ハンドクリーナーだ。鏡も違うか。戻るか。 敷金返してもらえない。あー、これ何？不動産業だってこと？このスタンリーが働いてる会社ってもしかして。やばない？そしたら。割とあの業界ブラックって聞くけど、わあパンダが銃突きつけられてるよ、これ。これちょっと見ちゃうとまずいような気がするから、こっち行こう。おお。
Stepping into his manager's office.
ああれ待って。どうしよう。ザ・ブリッジページズ。これやっぱ不動産業なんだな。待って、あれドア閉まると同時に間違えて交代しちゃったらさ、戻ってみようか。このドア開くのかな？開かないか。ドアも開かない。マウスのホイールをクリックしても何も始まらない。うわ！ブルームクローゼット。掃除用具入れってことか。さ、まともにゲームやれてねえのに、バグんのはちょっとやめてくんねえかな。お。あ、違った。今11時20分ぐらいなんだね。これバグったもしかして。んインプット、レシーブド。なんかのヒントがあるから入れろってことなのか、これ。バグは美味しい。取れ高とか言っちゃダメですよ、ドロさん。ちょっと取れ高言っちゃダメですよ、言ったっけまあ。でも割と、マジで、これは知らないんだよな。何これ。時計はあんまり変わらない。何これ。ここのドアも開かない。あれこれバグったのかなこれ。開かない。なんか開いてる。怖っ。8番出口の時もさ、ここしかないもんね。ここしかないのかな。行くしかないよな。行きましょう。You are now leaving. お前は今脱出している。あれエスケープポットベイフロア760。760階に行けってこと？すんげえ真っ暗なんだけど。怖っ。さっきのじゃあバグじゃないってこと？なんかこうやってさ、上に上がってくのを見ると、あれ思い出すよね。ボカロ P のハチさんが作ったワールズエンズアンブレラ。この上には多分きっと絶景が待ってるんだろうね。ちなみに俺はこれもマジで知らない。俺が知ってるエンディングはコンフュージングエンディングと普通のエンディングだけなんだよね。上等がついてる。すんげえ暗い。これみんな見えてるこれ。ゆっくり上がってくよ。 SCP を思い出す。ね。得体の知れない恐怖があるもん。ついに非常灯すらなくなっちゃった。エスケープポッドラウンジベイ。こっちってこと？ワンストリガード BD7。とりあえずここを進めってことか。なんも見えないが。お、え怖い、ちょっと、ちょっと待って、鳥肌だったから暖房こっち向けるね。吹き抜けた階段とか。ね。俺、ちなみにこの上に上がっていくっていうので、裁判のあれ思い出しました。怖え。えGood morning, man. はい、ということでですね、今回はスタンリー・パラブルというゲーム配信していきたいと思います。そうなんですよ。このゲームですね、なんと、なんかね、バックルーム味を感じるってコメントがあると思うんですけど、本当ね、バックルームっぽいんですよね。下この後ね、なんか線が引かれるから、その後についていけっていうゲームらしいんですね。なんか、
No matter how hard Stanley went around touching every little thing in
なん
the
か特に
office,
動いた
but
り
it
はし
didn't
ないの
make
か。
a single difference,
あ、消えちゃった。
nor did it advance the story in any way. まあ、特に変化ないから、とりあえず従っていきますか。 When Stanley
まあ
came
ね、
to a
最
set
初
of
はやっ
two
ぱりこ
open
う、ボスの
doors,
話を
he
聞いた方
entered
が
the
いいっていうの
door
は
on
も
his
ちろんあると
left.
思うんで、ちょっとまあ左の方に進んでみますか。にしてもだね。お、
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office,
シング
hoping
ス、
he
マ
might
ニ
find
ー、
an
ノー
answer
マニー、
there.
シングス、バット with money to buy。グラフス about things plus money。なんかお金がない会社なんだね。次行きましょう。今の言い方うざいね。お金がない会社なんだね。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his
多分
boss's
上に
office.
うわー、すんげえ効果。なんだろう、これ。コップおしっこでも飲むんけ？トイレットペーパー。ようわからんない。あ、エレベーターだ。お、上司の部屋行くか。お、長いな。お、止まった。イースターエッグかい。イースターエッグかい。普通にびっくりしちゃった。なんだよ。どっか上がってったり下がってったりしたのかと思ったらどこにも行ってねえじゃねえかよ。はい。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley
What
wondered
could it
aloud
mean?
to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
2845
But of course, Stanley
ちょっと誰かメモって
couldn't
これ
possibly have known
2845
this.
2845
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
トゥルーマンションこういうライトってめっちゃ眩しいよ。こっちは特に。ちょっとさ、待っていい？あ、しゃがむはできるけど、ジャンプはできないね。ん？まあいいや。とりあえずこっちだもんね、きっと。おう。おっ。怖いな。あ、なんかローディング入った。
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
これ上に戻れんのかな？
Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
うん。ああ。ボスのオフィスに戻ってきちゃった。やっぱ下行くか。あれ？下に戻れない？
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated.
これスタジオってさ、
It's
イギリスで作られて
that
るの
keen
か
eye
な？
for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow. I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
まあ戻るか。まあ、アクティベートされてるもんね。
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this? Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he? Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
なんかいや、今回はこっち進もう、ちゃんと。一回ストーリーのとこに進もう。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
なんかフォートナイトでこんな場所あったような気がするな。
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building. Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom
うわ、
meant
怖っ。
nothing.
614ってんいなくね。まあいっか、とりあえず行ってみるだけ行ってみるか。
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
これ黙っちゃうね。黙ってても成立しちゃうんだな、このゲーム。
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
De, どこで何を読んだ？あ、ファクトリーパワーってことはこれか。140。あ、でもじゃあさっきここから来たんだもんね。これか？違う。あ、こっちか。だよね。さっきあれ俺こっちから来たんだっけ？違う。こっちか。来たのは。
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
まあ、終わらせることが目的って言ってたし、随分と古い磁気テープだな。はい。
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
戻ることってできんのかな？あ、できないね。
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
お、クリア。ビートザゲーム。 ちょっと次はさ、最初の扉右に行ってみるか。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ってな感じで話に従っていくといろいろ選択肢が生まれるよっていう前置きのために30分3エンディング無駄にしました。
When Stanley came to a set of two
さ
open
っきエ
doors,
スケー
he entered
プ
the
の
door
ところあ
on
った
his
から
left.
ちょっとあっち先行ってみるか。何か新しいフラグが立ったってわけで
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
ちょっと雑談したいからさ、俺ちょっとこいつに抗うわ。あ、待って、違う違う。
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet.
そう。
No reason to still be here.
ちょっとね、事後報告みたいになっちゃうんだけどね。
It
少
was
々お待ちください。
baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything.
は
At
い。
least if there
な
was
んとね、
something to
MacBook
interact
Pro
with,
が
he'd be justified in some way. As it is,
ついに届きま
he's
す。
literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
64万の MacBook です、こいつ。届きます、ついに。
Are you really still in the broom closet?
い
Standing
や
around doing
ー
nothing?
これね、
Please
M3
offer me some
Max14 インチで
explanation here. I'm
外で
genuinely
ゲーム
confused.
動画の編集ができるっていうのは割とありがたいなっていうのと同時に VTuber が外で編集していいものかっていう疑問もあったりするんだよね。って
You
なわ
do
けで、
realize there's no choice
な
or
んか話して
anything
な
in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
ちょっとなんか物置から物語始まりそうだからちょっと靴下履いていきますね。
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning. Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how
これ
stupid
なん
he
か
is.
すごいね。
That
め
or
ちゃ
with
くちゃ
drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
めちゃくちゃ言うようになってんじゃん。
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's
こ
nothing
れ
here when a
確か
physical
ね、ゲーム
malady
リ
of
リー
some
スさ
sort
れた際
shut
に、
down your central
この
nervous system
なんて言うんで
and
し
you
ょう。
collapsed on the keyboard.
ナレーター
Well,
が
in a
確か
situation
何
like
年
this,
もかけて
the
撮ったって話
responsible
を聞
thing
いた
is
こと
to
がありま
alert
すよ。
someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them.
このゲームすごいね。
When you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
もうちょっといいよ。逆張りオタクだからもうちょっといいよ。そろそろなんかあるでしょ。なんもない。ちょっとあと1分待ってみますか。そう、雑談といえばですよ。そう、さっきもね、ちょっと話したんですけど、ついに MacBook が届くんですよ、これ。これ超高かった。これですね。そう。ありがたいことに働き始めてっていうか、まあずっと働いてるんだけどさ、働いてて、こういう、やっとまともなノートパソコン1個買えたっていうのが嬉しいよね。 まあ、ノートパソコン1個のために人生がほぼ全部棒になってると思うとちょっと嫌だから外出ましょう。
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
さっきのさ、ボスの部屋2845だっけ？
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible. He didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
ついに来るんですよ。
That kind of anxiety isn't healthy. So he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
この裏に何もないことが分かってるからね。なんか通路があるっぽいってのは分かったけど、画面真っ暗でよく分からんし帰ろう。で、この下行った先にね、もう一個道があったからちょっと行ってみましょう。ナレーションは録音と録音のってバックしてもらおう。割とそうね。でもこれさ、多分考えて作ってんだよね。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
マジ行こう。
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
帰らない。私は進む。ここから出る。
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward
あ、これもしかして
and
ダメなや
willingly
つ？
confront his death.
お。ちょっと戻るか。これ今から戻れんのかなこれ。戻ったらなんか言ってくる？おい、ナレーターなんか一言くらい喋ってくれよ。怖いな。うげ。いてる。いや、行かない。こっち行こう。ダメだ。行くって言ったから行かないっていうのはさすがにちょっと人としてどうかと思うから行こう。そういえば、ドロさん熱出てたみたいですけど、大丈夫ですか？なんかツイッター見てましたけど、なんか落ちてみるか。でいおー。わー。
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his
死んでます。
demise,
マジ
he
か。
reflected that his life had been of no consequence
待って、
whatsoever.
潰されるってことこれ。
Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
今咳込むと血が混じったたんが、マジか。
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
おう。 物語に介入したってこと？違う。あ、地獄に落ちたってことか。野村さんの配信見れば治るので。じゃあ、ASMR してあげるね。The Stanley PALABLE.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
なんか、話が複雑になってきたな。おおなんだなんだなんだ。
When every path
ファ
you
ミ
can
コンカセッ
walk
トで
has
気持
been
ちになった。
created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same.
え、
Do
め
you
たく
see
ね
now?
え、待っ
Do you
て。
see that Stanley was already dead from the
風景
moment
が
he hit start?
スタンリーのパソコン。オフィスレイアウト。このブループリントではゲーム開始時のオフィスが見られます。すいません、異なるレイアウトはほぼ同じです。へえ。廊下。この冒頭部分のテンポが重要で、この廊下を動かしたり変更したりでプレイヤーがたどり着くために。あ、なるほどね。へえ。二つのドアというかなりのストーリーパラボ。はあ、なるほどね。なんか悪い夢を見てる感じがするな。RPG 作るまあ、あるあるっすよね。オフィスのパソコン。ソリティアやってんじゃん。エンプロイデータベース。ケビン・ブライティングさんがナレーターやってんだね、これ。火の打ちどころのないナレーターって。まあ、本当に打ちどころないよ。ボタンを押した時に使われるサウンドセレクション。シンセサイザーの音色とキーボードのストロークをミックスして作られている。なるほどね。メンテナンスルーム。あ、これとんでもないネタバレだな、これ今の。なんか、イブを思い出すよね。デレデレデレデレデレデレデレ。あ、これまだ見てないエンディングがめちゃくちゃあるやつだ、これ。あ、こっち来なきゃよかった。あ、これ絶対見ちゃう。ナレーターへの質問メールを募集しました。当時これを宣伝材料に企画しているので完璧な姿見、そのメールの一部を紹介します。1122801かけると何があるのっていう。あ、これネタバレだ。待って、これ。今めちゃくちゃネタバレルームだった、これ。ちょっと記憶が蘇っちゃった。まずいね。コーラ飲んで記憶リセット。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
どうしましょうか。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
もう一回さっきのさ、最後のミサイル撃ってみるか。だってさ、今回配信今1時間
When
くらいやってま
Stanley
すけ
came
ど、
to a set of
こ
two
っちの
open
ドアで1
doors,
時間
he
潰れて
entered
る
the
から
door
ね。
on his left.
やばいよ、このゲーム。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
なんだっけ。
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Quelle surprise.
まあ下がっていくと。ちなみに野村もちょっとね、喉が痛いんですよね。喋るとちょっと違和感が強い感じがする。けどまあいいや、行っちゃいましょう。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
これでもさ、開発されたの2013年って考えると、だいぶあれだよね。当時、だってこのルートあったの俺覚えてるもん。海外の実況者の方がこれやっ
Now
て
the
たんだよね。
monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed.
104
Each
番。
bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The
104番はど
lives
こ
of
にい
so
るんだ
many individuals
クビになった
reduced to images
死ん
on
だ
a
のかな
screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally
Oh.
monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
234、104、601。この辺りが気になる。ファイヤーだ、他にもいないもんね。なんかありそうな気もするけどな。
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
ここはさっきも言ったもんね。意外と俺謎解き配信言ってる
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His
ダメだ、
own
ウミガメ
life
のスー
in
プダメなんだ
someone
よな。俺、
else's
平行
control.
思考っつうの
It was
あれがね、
unthinkable.
本当に苦手すぎて
Wasn't
ダ
it?
メなんですよね。
Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
眠
But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in,
システムのパワー入
Stanley
れるから
decided
今
that
度
this
は
machinery
はい
would never... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were
Loading
supposed to let
mind
it
control
go,
system.
turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to
核爆弾
explode, eliminating the entire complex.
核
How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the
Yonka.
bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to
3はどこ
talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start.
違う、これじゃない。
What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though,
3
this
はどこだ
version of events
こっち
has
の
been
方
rather amusing. Watching you try to make
あった
sense of everything and take back the
こっちかよ
control wrested away from you, it's quite rich.
あと
I almost
40秒。
hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go around will be even better.
走れ、スタンリ
My
ー。
goodness, only 34 seconds left. but I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it.
マジか。
I'm going to put some extra time on the
あ、
clock.
延
Why
長してくれんの？
not?
あ、Thank you.
These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room.
Huh?
These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge.
緑のボタンを
It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine.
青
But
の
I'm
ボタン
going
を
to
一回
destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then
揺れてる揺れ
no
てる
ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life?
やばいやばい
Or
や
will
ばい
you
よ
let it
やばい
go
よ
peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever after.
これってクリアできんのかな。まあこれはちょっとやめとこうか。てなわけで、右側で1時間が潰れました。なんかおかしかったね。別のルート、バグなんちゃらなんちゃら、通常、バックヤード、もう一個のさっきの核爆発エンディングだったんで、ちょっと今回こっち行ってみましょう。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
最初のドアを左に入りました。あ、ここ
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
こっちだ。
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here, it's, left.
OK。ライトじゃなくていいの ?OK。まあ、とりあえずこっち行ってみる。ここ。
Oh, no. No, it's to the right. My mistake.
なんだよ、慣れちゃん。
No, no, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
OK。俺もちょっとスマホでちょっといろいろ調べましょう。
We went down, right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
OK。ちなみに今、ツイッターでエロ画像を見てました。はい。あ、こっちか。あ、さっき上にあったところだよね。
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
あれ
All of his co-workers were gone.
もう一回行っ
Could
て
it
みるか
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely
What?
restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right
ちょっと
here
め
just
た
a
いね
minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay then, it's an adventure. Come, Stanley, let's find the story.
よしどっち行ってみるこっちかな悩ましい。すんげえぐにゃぐにゃしてる。
I'll say it.
あ
This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again?
マジ
Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting
Oh.
over and over again, but it's got to be better than this.
もう持ってきちゃっ
Okay, let's give it a shot. Why
Eh?
not?
た。慣れた大丈
All
夫
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
もう戻ってみるしかないもんね。
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from.
物語が
Why
元に
don't we
戻
go
ってるっ
back
て
the
何
other direction and see if we missed anything?
別の方向に行ってみる。さっきの道具掃除入れはあっちだもんね。
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes.
あれ待ってね。ここドアあるよね。なんでなんで
No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
してやられた。マジか。
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct?
だよね。
Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what
Are
we were
it-
supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations!
イェ
I know
イ
you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off. So, good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
OK。
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line.
これ TM っ
Just
て
follow
つ
the
いてる
line. How
からね
simple。is
これ
that?
商標登録されてんだね、これ。ゲップ出ちゃった。えあ、こっち行くのね。これさ、この線の上歩いてるときと音ちょっともさも
You
さしてん
see,
のね。
the line knows
Oh,
where
sure.
the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, Are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective?
なんか話が迷走してるって感じなのかな。
Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of
す
music
ん
to
ごい
lighten
ぐに
the
ゃぐにゃ
mood.
してる。おラララララ。ちょっと音がでかかったね。びっくりした。はい。はい。ああ待って。待って。はい。おい。おあピアリビューズ。はいはい。おなんかオフィスがどんどん綺麗になって
Got
く
the
る。
music?
Oh.
Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story.
はいはい。
Make sure you study it.
ちょっと待ってよ。ちょっと音量上げる。音量上げるけど、ミュージック音量はさ。これ選んでる間音楽流れるのちょっと腹立つな。
Closely and remember it carefully.
OK?
You won't want to miss anything.
うん。このシダ植物が重要になると。OK。はい
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No, no, no. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
こっち、ああ、でもさっきあれだよね。スタンリーパラボルの、ちょっとこっちの方見てみるか。ラインがこっから始まっててさ。
Still missing the doors. Did we make a mistake following the line? Perhaps we could have found the story on our own.
マジでまあ、とりあえずラインに従った方がいいってことだもんね。うん。
Oh, no, 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 not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you...
なんだ、ネタバレルームか
Take
よ。
this anymore, to hell with it. Restart.
OK。あれ
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done
Okay.
for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
あこっち普通のドアだったんだ。437の方のあれじゃなかったんだね。
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story
Huh?
to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley,
え
I'm ready for it.
なんだろう 空間的な違和感をゲームで立体にされるとちょっと気持ち悪くなるね。ああ、戻ってきた。これすごいね。あ、ゲロ吐きそう。なんか来た道戻ってる気がするな。
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it. You should be fine.
でもこれついていかないと多分道はないもんね。お？上？もうここ入るってことだよね。
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley. Our destiny awaits.
は？混乱エンド？何これは？
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this.
ちょっと黙っちゃうね、このゲーム。すごいね。
Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this?
混乱エンドのために。
No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So,
誰も来ないか。
I guess now we just wait, you know. I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime...
びっくりした。リスタートってこと？
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
あれ？待って。
Stanley went around touching
物語
every
はどこ
little
に行った？
thing in the office, but it didn't
ライ
make a
ンは？
single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
なんで？なんでない？ なんかの物語を通るたびにインプット、リレクティブ。何かしらを入力してけってことか。見落としてたのか、今までじゃあ。うん。マジで。ループしてないんじゃん。慣れたイエローラインがいるよ、ここに。マジで
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
ひるー。
Wow. Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
ここは違うもんね。こっち
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Oh.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen? Why? I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
安全に行かないと、下に。ほら、下に行く道がある。違う。いや、でも下に行けるはず。
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
いや、赤。いや、ナレーターはなんか混乱してるからこっち行った方がいいと思う。
Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here.
違う、そうじゃない。俺はストーリーラインを見つけに行きたいんだよ。なんでストーリーラインを見つけに行きたいんだ？
I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Okay. うわ、真っ黒だ。
What do we want? What are we looking for?
何を探している？
Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy.
俺はこれを幸せだと
I
思わない。
actually feel
次に
happy.
行く。
No, wait. Where are you going?
ストーリーラインを見つけに行く。
Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Good, good. We can't be too safe. Promise me you won't go back there. Just stay here.
いや、戻ろう。何があるこの世界に。何が見つけられる？いても無駄だよ。
No! What do we talk about? You're risking everything we achieved here. You heard me before, didn't you? You will die. What about this isn't getting through to you?
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
これ死ぬエンドってこと？ちょっと考えさせてほしいな、これ。飛び降りた方がいいのかな。自ら死ぬのはちょっと自分の義に反する。申し訳ないがリロード。
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
どこかのオフィスのどこかのパソコンがついていない。マジ？おお、ジョンさんどうも。今ね、イエローラインがいたんですよ。ストーリーラインがいたんですよ。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just
で
to
も
admire it.
さっきストーリーラインが示していた
The lounge was sublime.
降りる場
a
所を
work
間
of
違えた
art.
か。
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
いや、下に降りるのなら降りてみよう。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking, this is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
こっちに行けってこと？でもストーリーラインはさっき下にいたよ。
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To read.
血まりのなんたらワールド。巷で流行りのなんたらワールドはね。
Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on.
あ、
Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The
コーラ
thought
飲むとこの世の地獄みたいなゲップ出るね。
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
はい。
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible
あれ？
paths and destinations. Down
世界
one
がどん
path
どん
lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many
あったね。
directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a
赤
wonderful
ちゃんのゲー
fantasy,
ムがあんの
and
この
so
ゲ
in
ーム。
his
ネ
head,
タバレじゃ
he
ねこれ。
relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
押すなって言われたから押さないでいってみよう。ちょっとマジで押さないでいるためにちょっと雑談するか。そう。最近ね、うどん食うことにハマってて。あ、じゃあ、うどんなんかの話じゃないよ。もっと重要な話があるよ。そう、少々お待ちください。そう、ちょっとディスコードの画像をね、このまま出すことになっちゃうんですけど、これなんだかわかります？これ、プレイステーションビータというですね、今、見てくださってるのおそらくドロサント・ジョンソンなんで、ジョンソンジョンソンなんで、ちょっとわかると思うんですけど、これ、プレイステーションビータなる異物でございます。何年前今から。寝たのが2011年とかのハードは、まだ動きました。自宅の。これすごくない？いい加減ゲームも動かねえかな。いや、遅。
You see? Can he just not hear me?
骨董品。
How can I tell him in a
そう
way
なん
that
です
he'll
よ。骨
understand
董
that
品なんで
every
すよ。
second he remains here, he's electing
そ
to
う、でも
kill
ね、
himself?
骨董品なんだ
How
け
can I
ど、
get him to see what
最
I
近知った
see?
こととして、
How can I make him look at
あれなんです
himself?
よね。ソニー優勝修理やってるんですよね。はい。
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so
生物。
different, I
ほん
suppose.
と生物だよ
I'll
ね。
try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to.
ちなみ
I
に
must.
PS ビータ、
Perhaps
みんなは何のゲー
maybe
ムが
this
好きだっ
time
た？
you'll see.
俺はグラビティデイズが好
Maybe
きだった
this
ぜ。
time.
ミュ
And
ー
I
トンっ
tried
ていう。
again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
いや、スタンリー死んじゃった。まだ、そう。ソニー実はね、優勝修理受け付けてるんですよ。ちょいとお待ちを。ちょっと待っていいですか？マジでしょうもないんだけど、これソニーの公式ホームページ。これコンテンツ出して大丈夫なのかちょっとわかんないですけど、これね、修理料金でこれ実はあるんですよ。まだ PS ビータ。まだやってんだ PS ビータ。背面タッチパッドが9900円で、 で、なんかね、バッテリー交換費用が、ここには書かれてないんですけど、なんか5500円かかるみたいで、今悩んでるのが、自分が使ってるのがね、PS Vita 1000ってやつなんですよ。そう、これ、ドロさんしかわかんないかな、もしかしたら。そう、PS Vita 1000ってガチ初期型なんですよ、自分が持ってんの。投げ売りされたの買ったんで。本当に懐かしいのが出てきたね。そう、このね、そう、これ出てくるかな、そう。そうなんですよ、これ。あのー端子がね、あ、これ実物の写真撮った方が分かりやすいか。そう、端子がね、PS ビータ、ガチ初期型の PS ビータについては、端子が、あれなんですよ。あれ、あかん、上がった。そう。これなんですよ、これ。ガチ初期型の PS ビータはね、端子がオリジナル端子なんですよ、これ。これね、充電ケーブル、ちょっと充電しようと思って買ったら、1000円しました。これでかい、意外と。ちょうどエイジ配列のキーボード1.5個分くらいあります。そう、PS ビータで、これ結局これ何だったんだろうね。ちょっとこれ見てみる？うん。アクセサリー端子。へえ。ちょっと待って。ちょっと待っててね。このアクセサリー端子さ、もうゲーム本編とは関係なくなっちゃってあれなんだけどさ、あんだよね、俺。ちょっと待って。ガチ初期端子がついてるってこと？俺の PS ビータって。ほら、ほら、ほら、これわかる？これ。ほら。そう。昔ね、自分今ね、今でこそ青色っぽい人間ですけれども、大昔はね、赤色が大好きだったんですよ。で、これ赤色があるんですよね。へえ、これ何だったのって言ったらアクセサリー端子だったんだ。そう、SIM カード搭載モデルがね、あったりしましたけど。へえ、これ結局何の端子だったんだろうね。っていうお話でした。いい。アクセサリー端子。これちょっとアクセサリー端子で調べてみるか。うん。へえ。うん。あ、なるほどね。まあ、何らかの 修理出したったってことなんだ。はい、ということで続けてやっていきましょう。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
うーん。
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
もうエンディングないのかな。なんかあったような気もするんだ。赤ちゃんがどうのこうのって言ってたのはちょっと探したいんだよな、普通に。うん。ニューコンテント。
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
おお。おお。
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
おお。
As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
さて、ただいま現在時刻午前2時。ウルトラデラックスは来週やりましょう。こんなところで気殺しかよと思うかもしれませんが、ウルトラデラックスは来週やりましょうということで、来週の配信でお会いいたしましょう。ちなみにちょっとウルトラデラッ
The
クスがあ
meeting
るから
room.
ちょっと。
Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
うん。ありますね。ニューコンテンツあるんで。はい、じゃあ、ということで、来週はウルトラデラックス。お会いしましょう。これ、どうしよっか。パッつって配信切る。おつでした。おつおつお飲むおつ。ウルトラデラックス割と楽しみなんで、来週と言わず、でもね、そう、30日に MacBook が届くんで、そうね。ちょっとこれはあれだね。真面目にウルトラデラックスは、ウルトラデラックスどうしよっか。来週だ。で、土曜日になんかじゃあ、水曜日じゃない、木曜日の午前0時から何か、そう、開封の儀、開封の儀はね、レビュー用動画撮ってやるんで、ちょっとね、そちらの動画をお楽しみいただければと思います。てなわけで、じゃあ来週の動画でお会いいたしま、配信でお会いいたしましょう。アーカイブ動画作成もね、新しい MacBook が来てからどんどんやるようになると思うので、応援よろしくお願いします。バイバイ。ライブ配信を終了。